You've been for a job interview? What, dressed like that? Yes, just as well you're on the phones, isn't it?
Well, that's settled. Cassie stays where she is. Lauren takes the flat, and Evelyn moves in with me.
Thanks, Roy.
What about Count Spatula?
Nina.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
Hello and welcome to episode 271 of The Talk of the Street, an unofficial Coronation Street catch-up podcast that could not think of a single pithy thing to say to introduce this week's podcast. I'm Gavin. What are you shaking the table for already?
I expected the list of this music to start.
Oh.
I was like, oh, wait a second. Wrong podcast.
Wrong podcast, wrong
Yes.
day.
Yes. Also, I appear to be wearing Evelyn's sweater.
Is it?
I think she has a sweater very much like this.
That microphone is not going to point itself at your face.
Why is it pointing over there in the first place?
I don't know. You're the one that sits there.
Gremlins.
There you go.
I blame gremlins. Yeah, I'm pretty sure she has a sleeveless, long sweater like this. I didn't realize it until I like halfway through the day I was looking at myself and I'm like, who do I know who's got a sweater like this? And it's Evelyn.
How are
Yeah.
you anyway?
Ugh, exhausted.
Because,
You know why.
you're now giving me finger gestures to
Which-
hit this button.
Which, say it correctly.
I did.
You did not. You said blah for blah. You sound like one of my mother's chickens.
Well, there's an obvious joke there that I'm not going to make.
Yeah, I was sick for a week and then we had the storm. And so I'm a week off.
Oh, let's not recap the whole thing. We recapped it last week,
Right,
didn't we?
yeah. But, you know, I desperately need to finish this auction because there's Halloween stuff in it. So it needs to end in time for people to get their Halloween stuff shipped. Or
Yes, you've
pick it
explained
up.
this dilemma.
So I'm
Get your
just,
finger out and get it fixed then.
well,
What are you doing sitting here?
I have to come home eventually. I've been working until 4. I'm working
Oh.
Saturdays. It's so rough and I'm just exhausted. And I'm freaking out because this lady emailed us and said she had all these vintage children's clothing to put in the auction. And I was really happy. But then she never replied to any other emails when we said, yes, we very much want these. And I have a friend in Ohio, Dave, who has toys and stuff and very much seemed to want to put his stuff
I bet he does.
in the auction and then just kind of ghosted me.
Your life has become an episode of Acorn Antiques.
Yes, I don't know
but
what that is.
Just without Victoria Wood and jokes.
Well, I mean, there are jokes.
Are there?
I mean, my coworker is named Paul Shore.
Polly? Polly Shore.
I've got this
You're
hilarious.
going to end up in an Adam Sandler movie by the end of the year, I guarantee it.
There used to be in like the 90s, there was this show where people with the same name as a celebrity swapped places. And Paul was supposed to be on it with Pauly Shore. They thought Pauly Shore would be great taking the place of a gay man who sold antiques in New York. But then the show was canceled before they filmed the episode.
When they realised that they had nothing more than a concept.
Well, they did film.
Because we'll get Polly Shore and we'll get this guy called Paul Shore.
Right.
And then what?
Well, then they swap places and then hilarity ensues.
Well, an awful lot is relying on the hilarity ensuing part.
Right, yes. Pauly Shore is sometimes funny, isn't he?
He's no Rob Schneider.
That's true. They did. There was like one episode. I can't remember who it was with. I think it was George Clooney or something. But still, it's just really hilarious. My friend Paul was almost on this show with Pauly Shore. Or Pauly Shore was going to take over his life.
I have a friend called Derek Yates, who was the baddie in the London season of 24.
Uh-huh.
There you go.
There you go.
Make a TV show out of that.
So anyway, long story short, if you are on the North American continent and you have vintage children's items under your feet that you want to ship to Michigan, let me know. Slide into my DMs.
Shall we preamble, my dear?
Yes, please.
Give us some of that time-sensitive Corrie news.
Rugby will once again be getting in the way of our stories. The week
not
of
again.
Yes, the week of September 25th.
We've had rugby. It happened. Enough.
It's not over yet.
Ugh.
Corrie will be on Tuesday, the 26th at 8 p.m. for a whole hour and will not be on at all on Friday, the 29th. So maybe we get the podcast done a little earlier. There's a silver lining.
So it's on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday?
Yes. Corrie is...
How long's this rugby going on for?
I think this is the last one. It's the
The
finale.
last rugby.
Yeah. The last for this year. Is it the Rugby World Series?
It's the World Cup.
World Cup. Okay. They don't do a series, I guess.
No.
Well, too bad for them. Moving on. Corrie is offering fans a date with a serial killer.
You could meet up with Fred West.
On October 13th, you could buy tickets to watch the Friday the 13th episode with none other than Todd Boyce, a.k.a. Stephen Reed himself, and his stupid Ohio accent. Go green!
Go white.
And finally, raise a pint of Guinness for Charlie Lawson and his bride-to-be, Debbie Stanley, who are finally getting married after a 10-year-long engagement. And apparently somebody named Eamon Holmes is going to be officiating. I don't know who that is.
When Helen says the names of famous British people that she hasn't a fucking clue who they are.
And that's Corrie News.
And now we'll podcast for coffee. Now, Helen, we have been blessed in the previous number of weeks with lots of very generous donations to our coffee fund, which we're going to have to dive into ourselves this week.
Oh no! What happened to Pickles?
That's our friend of the podcast. That works differently.
Oh, that's
I'm
right.
going to have to require you to pay attention here. The Talk of the Street is and will always be free on your podcast provider and on the YouTubes. But if you think our show is worth anything more than the time it takes to listen to it, not this week, obviously, and if you want to show your appreciation, you can buy us next week's coffee by going to ko-fi.com. That's ko-fi.com/The Talk of the Street. And you can also sign up to be a friend of the podcast through the same link, where for as little as $2 a month, you can get a mention in the closing credits of each and every episode. And please remember, you can always support the podcast for free and get us in front of new listeners by liking, subscribing, rating and reviewing wherever you get your podcasts.
And we'll be very grateful, won't we, Gav?
We will. I think that's the best I've ever done that. And now, this.
Welcome.
Welcome to Last Year Tonight with me, John Oliver. Just enough time to quickly talk about Bob Dover.
This has something to do with Kirk, doesn't it?
That's right. This was James's manager, Bob Dover, who apparently had bobbed over to the house for a visit earlier, but missed James.
Isn't that funny, considering that James is mentioned for the first time ever in a long time this week?
Yeah, this was him getting ready to leave. This was post-heart attack. I was Gavin, and you had held a book that was older than your country in German.
Yes.
On Deutsch.
Yes.
On Deutsch. Sure. You were enjoying your new job and getting out of the house for a bit. I'd started 3 days in the office, which sucked donkey balls and still does. You'd bought a new sweater, and it was in the 80s outside, which was normal and fine unless you were a communist. We'd enjoyed our Echo and the Bunnyman experience and being on the guest list. It was fancy, fancy stuff until our tickets didn't scan, but we found the Fillmore's secret entrance.
Yes. Apparently one of our friends in the UK went to an Echo and the Bunnymen concert quite
Yes,
recently.
with our friend Chris, yes, that one was doing the sound engineering. And I said, if you see him, say hello.
Yes.
I don't know
He
if
might
that
be in
happened yet.
Tangier. I'm quoting a Bob Dylan song at you.
Oh, because we're talking about Echo and the Bunnyman?
Right, because you said if you see her, say hello.
Oh, okay.
And then the next line is she might be in Tangier.
Excellent. Always better when you explain things.
Yes.
Whatever doesn't kill James just makes him talk more about football as he comes to terms with the limits his heart attack is likely to put on his career. Sam is still desperate to be cool to impress Jelena. Remember Jelena?
Yeah, I miss her.
The chess protege.
Yes.
And turns to Hope and Liam for advice. After
Yikes.
seeing the impact his presence is having on Speed Dial, homeless Stu looks for alternative employment. Kelly and Aadi's plans to elope to Scotland are uncovered and they get very different reactions from their guardians. Glenda finds life away from the cruise ships a bit of a drag, so looks to a job in the Rovers to spice things up a bit. Thank God that happened.
Yes.
Ryan is stung when he sees Alia and Matt get all lovey-dovey right under his nose in the bistro. Remember Matt?
Yeah.
What was wrong with Matt again?
Did she dump him to get back together with Ryan and then that fell apart too?
I don't know. With the trial around the corner, Toya looks for a distraction which may involve blowing up her mother-in-law's car. Griff is probably racist. Sean has 9 friends. And Dev's new cap has a P on it. Her moment of the week was Toya and Leanne pulling together for the trial, and their boring moment of the week was Sam being cool. And that was Coronation Street and the talk of the street. This time last year, I remember this was Griff talking about Toya's mother-in-law as
Right.
one of them.
One of them.
And that was my clue that
Right.
he was going to be racist. And
We
look
were
how
like,
that turned
he's
out.
either going to be racist or a communist.
Which way is it going to go?
Who knows?
We'll take a break there and we will be right back with this week's recap. And we're back.
Yay!
Shall we dive in, my dear?
Y'all's please.
Our first storyline tonight is Dick and Dom. You know it's going to be one of those weeks when the first scene on Monday is a stew scene. Morning has broken and Stu is trying to entice Eliza to go and see her mum, but she's dragging her heels because Dom hasn't shown up. She's arranged to meet Dom for breakfast.
Yes,
you see.
remember that happened last week when Dom's car broke down so they couldn't do their film thing.
Right. She worries that he's still having car trouble and begs for more time, so Stu gives her 20 minutes.
Which is stupid because they've been sitting there for 2 hours now.
Right.
Like, give it up, kid.
How long do you want here?
Right. Yeah.
How long is too long? Do
Right.
you want to see your mum or not?
Because let's remember, your mom has a limited amount of time and you have to drive far away to see her.
Because she's in Newcastle now.
Right. Whereas your dad should be around all the time.
Seems to live in the precinct. That seems to be where he is, or thereabouts.
Right. Within walking distance.
Dom still doesn't show up, so Stu and Eliza end up at the precinct. Eliza's got a face like a bulldog licking pish off a nettle, and halfway to getting a custard slice with Stu, she decides that she wants to wait in the car, so Stu lets her because he's scared of his own granddaughter. Stocked up on custard slices, Stu goes back to the car to find Eliza as charming as ever. He points out that Dom just continually lets her down and has done so again because he says to her, I know that you're in a bad mood because
Right.
your dad's let you down. And she's like, I'm not in a bad mood with my dad, I'm in a bad mood with you.
Right. Because my dad could have showed up. Yeah.
He points out that he's let her down with the film night and let her down with the breakfast and just continually can't be bothered and still can't be bothered. And this, surprisingly, does little to cheer Eliza up. So she gets out of the car where she's promptly run over and killed.
By Tyrone.
Now, this is what I did this week.
Yes. You solved the mystery.
I had seen that license plate before.
Uh-huh.
Because the car that clipped Eliza, actually quite well done. The wine mirror
Yeah.
hit her elbow or something.
Right.
And it looked like it's a stunt person that's standing there. They
Right.
don't make 12-year-old little girls stand in the middle of the
Right.
street and then drive a car at them.
No.
But it was pretty well done.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was CGI'd or whatever, but it looked pretty convincing.
There was a picture on Instagram with Stu and Eliza on a mattress on the street.
For when she fell, yeah.
Yeah.
So the license plate was N900J00.
Which is far too long.
That's the same length as all license plates in the UK.
And they're all too long.
But it stuck in my head because you don't see all those zeros and O's
Right.
together. So I saw it and I immediately thought I recognised that car from somewhere, and I couldn't for the life of me remember where it was, but I wondered if maybe Kathy had driven it and Kathy had knocked somebody down with it, but I thought, no, it's more recent than that. So I looked at the episode from Christmas last year where Fizz drives out into the middle of nowhere and her car breaks down.
Right.
And I thought that was Tyrone's car as well, and I think it was at the time. But it was a Suzuki.
Uh-huh.
I think it was a Suzuki Swift or something. I thought, no, well, it's not Tyrone's car then. What car could it be? But something made me go and look at Fizz's last scene from the spring when she left. And there's the car, the N900J00. It's Tyrone's car.
Yes.
But we'll get back to that
In
another
another
storyline.
storyline.
So the car, which I think is probably driven by Dom, because whoever it is in a hurry.
Yeah,
And I
but
thought this
he
is
wouldn't
Dom
be
in a hurry to get to see Eliza. That's what
He
I thought it
doesn't
was.
give a fuck about that kid. Let's be honest here. It's got to be Cassie.
Well-
Or Cassie sold the car. Cassie stole the car and sold it to someone dodgy who then drove it away.
Yeah, maybe. It's
For
definitely
drug
stolen.
money.
Unless it's Tyrone.
It wouldn't be Tyrone.
That'd be hilarious. Anyway, the car, whoever it's driven by, speeds away while Stu drags Eliza off to the hospital, taking every opportunity to hit her where she was pranged by the car. It's bad news at the hospital where Eliza's condition has improved to alive. She's got away with a minor fracture and she's getting a stookie on it. So that's going to be fun, isn't it, Helen? And she wants her dad to be there, so asks Stu to call him. Dom shows up to the hospital with a massive teddy bear, and Stu is
That he stole from Daniel.
probably. Stu is quickly on him about not showing up. Dom blames his car still being broken, and his phone had run out of charge, which only let him read his messages but not reply because earlier Eliza knew that he'd read the message.
Right.
Oh, it was on 1% when it did that.
And then it immediately died,
So Stu calls him a liar to his face.
which always works.
Right. And Dom blames him for letting Eliza get run over. A younger man would have been able to stop that. So this is all going exceptionally well.
Which is not true.
If not particularly interesting. A nurse comes to take Eliza to get her stookie fitted, and it's Dom that she wants to go with her. Alia turns up to the hospital to keep Stu company. He quickly brings her up to speed. She's very much Team Stu, obviously, and she tells him not to let Dom get to him. She advises him to give him enough rope to hang himself and to be there for Eliza and keep a brave face. Later, Dom is introduced to Alia, and after a lot of back and forth where Stu pretends to be the cheeriest grandparent in history and promises an endless supply of pizza and ecstasy tabs, Eliza announces that she wants to go and live with Dom permanently now. Stu and Dom's guts all fall out simultaneously because Dom doesn't really want this.
No.
Cheery grandparent disappears and he accuses Dom of poisoning Eliza's mind. He decides to leave them to it. Dom, that is, which surprises Alia. Don't you want to be hanging around here because an awful lot of this is about you? Stu points out that Eliza's a child and he's a guardian and it's the law. The law is an ass, says Eliza, and she wants to live with Dom because he's fun. He can't look after you, says Stu. And you can? Snaps Eliza. Oh, ouch. Alia sends Stu off to get tea and explains to Eliza how the law works. She announces that she hates Stu and wishes that she'd never moved in with him. Alia calls her an ungrateful cow and that no one cares about her as much as Stu does. And right at this moment, I really don't care for her one little bit.
No.
Meanwhile, Stu and Dom argue in the waiting room, and it seems that Dom doesn't want Eliza living with him either and doesn't really want any more of her than maybe a couple of times a month. Stu points out that Eliza thinks the sun shines out of his arse and thinks every day is going to be rainbows and unicorns, even though they've been out together once and he's let her down at least twice. He offers to take a step back, especially if Stu can sweeten the deal. He asks for 10 grand to clear out some credit card debt.
He has 10 grand in credit card debt.
It's always a nice round number, isn't it?
Yeah. He's
Yeah.
like, that should do it. Because remember, Eliza let slip last week That granddad has a lot of money because mom put him in jail.
How much did they get? Was it like 100 and something? It was a lot of money.
Yeah.
It didn't work out an awful lot per year, but it was a
No.
lot in a lump sum, I think.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Because Dee Dee didn't want him to take it because it wouldn't equate to the years that he lost.
Stu tells Dom that he won't pay him to be an absent father when he's doing a good enough job for free, and he refuses. Eliza comes out and hears Stu refuse. So Stu shouts for a bit until everyone gives up and goes home. And back home, and Eliza immediately runs up the stairs. Alia wonders why Stu can't keep a lid on his temper for 5 minutes, so he has to explain about Dom's proposal. She wonders why he didn't tell Eliza, but he doesn't think she needs to hear that and doesn't trust him as far as he could throw him. And later, Stu comes down from bed to find Eliza raiding the fridge. He apologises and tells her that he's trying his best and advises her to go to bed soon. He heads up the stairs again, and Eliza, who has fractured her arm today and that her arm's in a stookie, reveals that she's packed a bag, and so she grabs her bag and a blanket, I think, and sneaks out the front door.
Or jacket or something. Yeah.
God, this wee lassie.
Yeah, and she lies to him and says, "Oh, I have choir practice in the morning, so you probably won't see me in the morning."
So calculating as well.
Right, yeah. And then walks out on the street, this 12-year-old girl wandering the street
In the middle of the
in the
night.
middle of the night. She's really lucky that she made it to Dom's.
So Wednesday, Ali and Stu are up and about, blissfully unaware that Eliza has done a runner, with Stu thinking that she's gone off to that choir practice thing. He thinks they've turned a corner since yesterday and had a good talk last night, and he promises to show Eliza more of his fun side.
They'll go to a movie, and they want Alia to go with them. But she has to go to the library and do some research because apparently
Computers don't exist.
the internet no longer exists.
Right. Stu wanders by the bus stop, and Hope and Ruby ask after Eliza, who Stu explains as early choir practice. When Stu wanders away, Hope reveals that the practice was cancelled, but she didn't say anything to Stu because bitches got to stick together.
Yeah, bros before hoes, man. Bros before hoes.
Bros before hoes, indeed. Later, that's what Hope said. Later, Stu gets a call at speed dial to let him know that Eliza hasn't been asked to show up for classes today, and I'm surprised that they actually expected her to be in class today, given that she broke her arm yesterday.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I guess if she can run away from home, she can go to school.
Right. Yeah. And the thing is if the school may not know that she broke her arm, if Stu expected her to go to school, then he's not going to call the school and say, "Hey, Eliza's not going to be in school today because she broke her arm."
Right. Stu is more furious than usual to learn that Eliza has lied to his face, and he suspects Dom of kidnapping his own daughter, so he goes off to sort this out by shouting quite a bit.
Which does happen all the time and is always tragic.
Right. And Eliza is indeed at Dom's, but apparently it was her idea, and she announces that she's staying with Dom now and has no intention of going back with Stu, and Dom slams the door in Stu's face. That's not the first time that Stu's had a door slammed in his face, and he always does the same thing. Rubs his face, hands through his hair. Stu phones the cops and the social services, and it's Felicity who shows up, who reveals that they've already done an assessment on Dom back when Eliza's mum got put in prison.
Right. Yeah. They did an assessment of him already, but they didn't give him the child.
Or think to tell anybody in the family of where he was.
Right. So they've done an assessment of him. They decided to begin with, or wait, did they offer her? They did offer her to Dom, and Dom refused her. So you'd think that they would remember that.
Right.
Yeah. You'd think that they would question why this guy now wants to be a dad.
When he doesn't.
Right. And when he already told them he doesn't.
Right. So Felicity knocks on the door, and she and the cop are going for a chat, leaving Stu out in the cold. He gets his door slammed in his face again here.
I know. That was kind of hilarious that even the cop is slamming the door in his face.
Right. After consultation, the social decide to let Eliza stay another night while they figure out what to do. Stu is fucking furious about this. And in the
Yes.
commotion, he accidentally elbows the copper in the face. "You're nicked, pal. Assaulting a police officer."
Yeah.
Later, though, Stu is released without charge. Do you know, and there probably is, because it's been done wrongfully in the
Right,
past. So they're
yeah.
probably, I ain't touching this with a barge pole.
No.
Just let him go.
Yeah.
Dee Dee's in the station while he's leaving, and Stu tells her that he's got a battle on his hands here, and he asks Dee Dee for her opinion. She says that courts don't usually favour grandparents over parents, especially grandparents with obvious anger management issues. Back home, the show remembers that Alia and Dee Dee are friends. That was nice, Helen, wasn't it?
Yeah, that Alia works for Dee Dee.
Right.
That's why she was doing research.
Dee Dee tells her about Stu being arrested while Alia fills Dee Dee in about Dom trying to sell Eliza. Dee Dee reckons if they can get proof of this, it'll change everything, and that is what a high-powered lawyer can do for you, see. A forensic knowledge of the law to know that buying people is illegal.
Right.
Later,
Where was she when Summer was going to sell her baby?
nobody asked her.
Nobody asked her. Nobody thought to ask.
Later, Stu's and Rover's drunk on whiskey, moaning to Evelyn, who he thinks is called Emily. She advises him that he's bad cop granddad, just like she's bad cop nan here, and he just has to wait for Dom to slip up.
Which is exactly what Alia said.
He goes off to sing Chris Rea at the bar, which is how we know that he's drunk,
Yes, that was terrible.
and it went on
So
forever.
bad.
And they sang
so-
the wrong lyrics as well.
Yeah.
When Alia and Dee Dee come in, Stu is now off the mind that he should pay Dom off. But back home, Alia's fetched him a glass of water, and a now sober Stu, he promises to follow Dee Dee's advice, get tactical, and keep a lid on his temper. Alia says that if he doesn't, he'll lose Eliza.
Yes.
And at the moment, losing Eliza doesn't seem to be that much of a loss, does it?
Hey,
I guess you
people
can love
love
your
their
kid
terrible children.
without particularly liking them.
Right. Yeah. I guess that's how my mother stays sane.
I guess that's how everyone's mother stays sane. Yeah, because it's dead easy for me to think all the way through this. This isn't worth the hassle, Stu. Just let her go.
Just let her go.
And see what happens.
Right, because if you let her go and see what happens, she's going to be back home soon enough.
Yeah. Well.
Or Dom is going to just take off and leave her abandoned in that apartment.
Right. Well, we'll see how things go on Friday, shall we?
Yeah.
Alia and Stu are making a happy birthday video for Yasmin's 70th. Stu is as boring as ever. Alia wants to get some friends to make videos too to make up for the fact that Stu's really stinking this up a little bit.
Right.
She'll ask Roy and Kathy. Eliza, though, hasn't been responding to Stu's messages, and they decide not to tell Yasmin about any of this just yet. Later, the social comes round. She's seen Eliza, who is adamant that she wants to stay with her dad, which the social thinks they should honour. Stu tells her about the deal Dom was trying to strike, which the lady takes a note of, and then she recommends that Stu gives her some space and time, recognising the fact that Stu constantly badgering this wee lassie isn't helping matters.
No. I do find this curious, though, that the social worker, who, again, has assessed this guy and is aware that initially he didn't want anything to do with his child, is saying, let's just leave her there, even though you are her legal guardian and responsible for monetarily supporting her. Let's just see what happens.
Well, yeah, this is where the rubber meets the road.
Yes.
When Dom has to go and do the first weekly shop
Right.
and has an extra mouth to feed here.
Right.
Or is he expecting somehow that Stu's going to pay for all that?
Right.
Yeah, I wondered, because Stu has custody,
Right.
shouldn't Eliza go back with Stu, and then
Right.
if Dom wants
Custody.
either full custody or shared custody or whatever,
Yeah.
then they should go to the court and petition that. and-
Right. Yeah.
But
This
until
is-
that happens, let's honour the decision that's been made,
Right.
and Eliza stays with Stu for the time being.
Right. Yes. Who the state, let's remember, the government has given this child to Stu. The government decided Stu is the best option for this child.
Which may or may not be correct.
Right. But he's definitely
But-
better than Dom.
Well, so everyone says, and it really grinded my gears this week that every time they mentioned Dom, Stu would say something like, "Oh, our asshole of a father," or our so-called father,
Right.
or her waste of a father, or just constantly talking him down just to remind us that he's a bit of an asshole,
Right.
even though The one thing that we've got to go on here is he's asked for some money off a Stu. He's an opportunist.
Right. And he's also twice let this little girl down.
Right.
And also, he's not the one who found her. He was aware of where she was and chose not to reach out. He only started to reach out when she contacted him, when she found him on Facebook.
Or Friends Connect.
Ah, okay.
Or she vogled him or something.
Yeah, something happened.
Something did happen.
So we do
None
know
of it-
this
none
guy.
of it interesting.
We do already know this guy is a waste of space, but it's kind of like Chauncey talking about Henry, constantly being this, fly by night pretty boy, constantly over and over and over again.
Yeah. It's like
yes,
show. We get it.
we get it.
You don't have to keep on doing
No,
this.
you seriously stop.
They even got Alia doing it. When Alia's explaining to Dee Dee about him.
Right.
It's,
This waste of
Eliza's
space.
waste of space dad is blah, blah, blah.
It's trying
we
to
know.
It's trying to sell her.
I mean, you deserve none of the attention that we're given this, but we have been paying attention.
Right, yes.
Sam, Hope and Eliza dropping at Nina's Rolls later to find Roy recording a message for Yasmin's 70th. The kids want to help, and they're going to go off to get some cue cards and stuff, but when Sam asks Roy what he's doing, he says that he's doing this message for Yasmin's 70th, and this seems to sting Eliza. She suddenly feels left out because no one has thought to ask her for a message.
I wonder why. Because you don't answer the frickin' phone. What is wrong with this kid when she doesn't answer her granddad's calls, but is upset that she wasn't asked to do something? It's like,
Up until this point...
where's the thought process here?
Well, up until this point, all Eliza knows is that nobody wants to upset her here.
Right.
Nobody wants to upset her. The social worker doesn't want to upset her. The cops don't want to upset her. She's been allowed to do whatever the hell she likes.
Right.
And now she's come to the fact that, well, there's a consequence to that.
Yes.
That Stu isn't going to ask you to record a stupid message for
Because you
Yasmin's
won't
birthday.
answer the phone when
Right.
he calls to ask you.
But then she's like put out by this. And
Yeah.
she's like, well, he hates me now.
Right.
When 2 days ago you said that you hated him.
Right.
Oh, go for a long walk off a short pier, please.
It's terrible to say about a child.
Oh,
Even a
I
terrible
really hate this
one.
wee lassie. I hate this wee lassie.
The
The
character.
character, obviously.
Yes.
So the kids are at the bus stop later. Sam tries to encourage Eliza to contact Stu. Sam's really annoyed at Hope here. When Hope is the one that's speaking sense.
Yes.
Hope's had enough of Eliza's pish.
Right.
You can't tell the guy not to contact you, and when he doesn't contact you, you can't sit and complain about it.
Right,
He's
yeah.
doing what you wanted.
Yes. Go Hope.
Right.
And Sam's like, Hope. And it's like, Sam's been very Sam here. And it's like, oh, you got 20 minutes before your bus gets here. So she has to take a bus to Dom's house?
Who knows?
Who knows? But anyway, you've got 20 minutes. Why don't you go say hi to your granddad? And then she'll say, oh, he hates me. Yeah, that's why he's desperately trying to get you back, because he hates you.
So Sam gets an idea, which isn't much of an idea. But
Well, it's a Sam idea.
back at home, Stu and Alia watch Roy doing a shite Love Actually on his video.
Or a shite Bob
Subterranean.
Dylan Subterranean Homesick Blues impersonation. That's 2 Bob Dylan references in one episode of Talk of the Street. You're welcome.
At least one too many. Stu has calmed a lot and has decided to listen to the social worker and hope that Eliza sees sense. And at that, he gets a text from her. She sent a video for Yasmin's lame birthday compilation, and this makes Stu happy, but also sad because their video was better than his.
And also the fact that he's got a video, but she didn't come to visit.
But she did say, love you. in
Right.
it.
Yes, which Alia points out.
And that's as far as we get with that this week. Now, I didn't care about this one little bit last week, and this week, I think I care about it less.
And it's another one of those frustrating things that the show tries to hype up, and it falls flat because the show is terrible at hyping things up, because the spoilers for this was all, the headlines were all, Stu goes to jail in the fight for Eliza's custody. And he was in jail for like 5 minutes.
Yeah. And Eliza rushed to hospital.
Right.
Stu and Death rushed to hospital thing.
Right.
After horrendous car crash.
Right.
And you're like, what? How does this compare to what I've just watched?
Right. Yeah, they're terrible at this.
The issue that I have with this, that I probably have already said, but maybe I'll say it differently and you won't notice, is that for a while Stu was a good character. We enjoyed
Yes.
Stu when he was homeless and when he was helping Kelly out.
Yes.
And when he was getting ITV Corrie sent down and
Right.
all that sort of stuff. And
Yeah.
initially when he came into the show, he was quite good value as well. He had that cough, remember, and we thought, oh, God,
Oh,
he's
no.
not long for this world.
And he was very cheerful, even though he was homeless.
And I reckon they probably had plans to kill him. That's what the cough was all about.
Right.
And they decided, do you know what? I think people are liking
This guy.
Bill Fellows' presentation of Homeless Stu. And
Right.
as we were. And
Yeah.
I do like Bill Fellows.
Yes. He was
And-
great in Ted Lasso.
And in the Alan Partridge episodes that he's in.
Yeah.
So
He's a good actor.
So we had a lot of faith and a lot of goodwill had been built up about Stu
Right.
since his inception. Then they kind of kept him on and they introduced him to Yasmin, and I was was less interested in that, but not.
I kind of liked them
hate it.
together initially.
Then they had him become a bit of an asshole,
And a murderer.
and well, I'm skipping over the murder part. I was very much not interested in the family that they suddenly decided to give him and the backstory that never made sense and,
No.
and how this wee lassie could have possibly killed this grown woman and all that sort of stuff.
Yes.
But then, following all that, and as he's getting his feet under the table at Yasmin's, he becomes a bigger asshole
Yeah.
round about the pub quiz.
Yeah.
He's the world's worst person that you want to have in the pub quiz because he says that he knows the answer. He doesn't
Correct.
know the answer.
Correct.
And he gets annoyed when you don't listen to him.
Right.
So that was annoying in itself. But then he started to take the piss out of Roy. Mm-hmm. And you don't
take the piss out of Roy.
You don't take the piss out of Roy if you're wanting to become a character that we care about.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably true for most of the people that watch Coronation
Yes.
Street. Roy is higher up in the pecking order than Stu
Ever
is
will be.
ever going to be.
Yeah.
So him taking the piss out of Roy didn't sit well.
No.
He's still getting a bit off with Yasmin until Yasmin goes away. So at this point in the storyline, we don't really care about Stu that much.
No.
And we certainly don't care about Eliza.
No, because at first she was this very sweet, charming wee girl. The show remembered that she plays guitar this week. That was kind of nice because she was worried about if she'll ever get to play the guitar again.
So we have Stu that we don't care about, Eliza that we don't care about, Dom we don't know.
Right. And
We-
definitely don't care about.
And this is the A storyline this week on Monday and Wednesday.
Yeah.
And it was a pretty high up storyline last week as well. So it's
Yeah.
like an awful lot of time's been dedicated to this storyline that even if the rest of Corrie was sparkling,
Right.
I'm still not going to be interested in this. And the fact that the rest of Corrie wasn't sparkling just makes it stand out even more. It's just a really dull storyline that's getting way too much time.
Right. It is really dull and it feels really inaccurate. And it seems like they're being forced because it's not really an exciting storyline. They're being forced to manufacture some sort of like tension here.
Kids getting rushed to hospital.
Yeah. But then it's fine.
Everyone will surely care about that.
Right. But it's just a fracture. And she's out of the hospital right away. Yeah, I mean, it really confuses me because they're typically so good when they get an actor who's well known for something on. Evelyn, for example. They have these actors who are known for being good comedic actors. Bill Fellows is a very good comedic actor, and yet they're forcing him to play this character who's not funny at all.
No, he's a bit of a...
He's a prick now.
he's a prick and he's a buzzkill.
Yeah, he was kind of funny in the homeless stage. And it's just weird because back in the homeless stage, before they decided that he was going to have gone down for murder at some point, which really didn't jive with what we knew of his timeline beforehand, where he said his wife kicked him out for being a drunkard. And
Did that happen?
yeah,
I remember that we had question marks over the timeline, certainly.
right.
That wasn't resolved by the revelation of the timeline.
No. That he became homeless when after his wife kicked him out, and he lost his job in the Navy being a cook because he drank too much. And then all of a sudden he was in prison as a murderer.
For 20 years.
Right, which doesn't make any sense. You know, I really equate that is the point where the Stu character kind of went off the rails, when they decided that in order for him to become a regular character, they had to spice up his backstory.
But the backstory existed on the streets.
Right.
They could have given him anything that happened to him. Some
On
of
the streets.
crazy trauma that he faced and
Right.
the shit that he saw when he lived on the street.
Right.
Surely there must have been a diamond in there that they could have
Right.
buffed up and used that, rather than inventing this murder story, and the daughter doing it is just
So dumb. So dumb. I don't know. Maybe they thought that they'd already used up all of their interesting homeless storylines with Sean and Homeless Carol. Remember Homeless Carol? I miss her.
Yeah.
I hate what they've done with Eliza.
She was a nice wee lassie.
Yeah. She was
Loved her granddad.
right. She was adorable. Of course, she kind of went off the rails when she told Sam that he was a nerd and she didn't want to hang out with him anymore. When the volcano exploded. And it was
Yeah.
Hope's fault. And yet it seems like everyone's forgiven Hope.
Surprise, surprise.
Quelle surprise.
Oh well.
And they're all friends now, when Hope was really mad. Hope did that whole thing because she thought Eliza was trying to steal her man. Because that happens when you're 12.
Yeah. They're not setting the header alight with the
No.
storyline. I don't really care how it goes.
No.
If she comes back, if she doesn't,
Yeah.
it's a big so what for me.
Yeah. Oh, well.
That's a cheery way to start. Let's move on to our second storyline, which is Recovery, Shmecovery. On Monday, Tyrone's walking the girls to the bus stop because he doesn't trust Cassie to do it, which everyone seems to know, including the girls.
Right.
In Nina's roles, racist Kelly is on time for once with good reports of the B&B that she stayed in last night. Roy wants to get in touch with social services about the next steps, but she doesn't want to end up in care and would rather handle it herself. What age is she?
I thought she was 18 now.
She's 17 or 18.
Yeah.
Would she end up in care? I'm not sure. Maybe.
No. I don't know.
At the precinct flat, Evelyn is sitting on the sofa with a hot water bottle, seeming very alone and bored.
And that hot water bottle is so noisy.
Yes.
It was hilarious.
And then the rolls later, Evelyn comes in with Freddie, worried about Cassie and the kids being in the house together while she's in the flat freezing to death. Roy worries that Evelyn is being too harsh, and then Evelyn gets a call from Fizz. And it's closing time at Nina's rolls, and Roy has a chat with Nina about racist Kelly moving into the flat with them. Fuck no, says Nina, who thinks that this is a bad move
Yes.
for Roy, having her in such close proximity, and this is very wise.
Yes, Nina is wise. Always wise.
At the garage, Cassie is on another tea break when Evelyn comes along to tell Ty that Fizz called. It's clear that Fizz knew nothing about Cassie or her relapse, and Evelyn thinks that he needs to tell her.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't tell her, then she's a goner.
Yeah.
Ty is furious about this, and they all argue about what right Fizz has to know anything about Cassie or who's living in her house.
And around her
and
children.
Her daughter, right? When Roy appears like a bad smell and insists that they all go to the cafe to discuss this calmly, and Kev's very happy about this because this gets them the fuck away from the garage.
Right.
So at the cafe, Evelyn wonders if Ty has learned nothing about keeping secrets from his wife. He asks Tim about this, and Evelyn says, "Do I need to say this again in Romanian?" And that was hilarious.
It was hilarious. He was like, that's completely different.
He thinks this is different, and Cassie thinks Evelyn is twisting stuff. Long story short, Roy facilitates a change of living arrangements to keep everyone happy. Evelyn will move in with Roy because
Yay!
Evelyn can't stay at the flat. And that's got just comedy written all over it, hasn't it?
It really does. It makes me so happy.
Before that, racist Kelly will sublet the precinct flat, which puts her next door to Sabina,
Yes.
because she can afford £700 per calendar month because she's got a second job now at a call centre.
Right. 650.
Let's just call it 700. And Cassie stays where she is. I'm not sure how that makes anything better, but whatever. Evelyn wonders about, what about Count Spatula over there? So Roy...
Because the show seems to forget that Evelyn and Nina are friends, that they used to go to protests together
Right.
and dance in fountains
yes.
and chain themselves to bulldozers.
Count Spatula was another cracking line, though.
Right, yes, but still, these two people are friends.
So Roy sends Nina off to stay with Asha for a couple of weeks. No one asks Dev what he thinks about this.
Right, and also, we don't see Nina at Dev's in another
While all the
storyline
shit's going on
after
there.
all this happens.
And Tyrone promises to speak to Fizz. So back home, Tyrone calls Fizz and talks to her on the laptop, and apparently it's okay for Cassie to stay. Tyrone telling her that Cassie is trustworthy. Tyrone tells Hope and Ruby and pretends that they have a say in the matter, but Hope is fairly nonplussed about it, but seems to be happy. So
Does she though? Does she,
she doesn't
really?
She doesn't
didn't-
really.
She doesn't really seem happy, but she says family has to look out for one another.
Right. Evelyn moves into the flat and announces that she'll be using the lock on her bedroom door to prevent Roy or his sleepwalking alter ego from paying her a nocturnal hole mission. She seems happy, though, that these arrangements are for the best. Now,
They're best for Freddie because now Freddie doesn't have to go back and forth between two houses.
right. There was a little throwaway line at the start here while Tyrone was taking the girls to the bus stop where he just says that he's so busy and he's harassed as he's trying to get the girls to the bus stop because I guess the street was so busy parking wise that
Right.
he had to park his car on Tyle Street.
Yes.
So that's important
Yes.
for what's about to happen on Wednesday
Yes.
when Tyrone announces that his car has been stolen. He parked it on Tyle Street.
Yes.
It's not there anymore.
No, because it was busy knocking Eliza over.
Right. So that was the chain of events was Tyrone parks his car on Tell Street on Monday. It gets stolen on Monday.
Yeah.
It's used to knock over Eliza on Monday, and then Tyrone notices that it's stolen. Nobody knows at this point that Tyrone's car is the one that knocked over Eliza.
Now, did Stu not contact the police that Eliza was involved in a hit and run?
One would assume.
One would assume that there are CCTV all over that precinct.
And if there aren't, I don't know how you forget the license number N900J00
Right.
or JOO.
Yeah. Does he see that though?
He
Is it on
doesn't-
the back of the car
Yeah.
as well as the front? Okay.
Front and back.
Okay.
It's
Well,
always
maybe
been
he
weird
was just-
for us here in Michigan where the plates are just on the back.
Yes.
But in Connecticut, they're on the front and back.
Correct.
He would have seen enough of it to say that there's a lot of old-looking shapes in there that would have helped, and it was blue, and it was a Ford
Right.
Focus, I think.
Yeah, we don't see him go to the police. We don't see a policeman there at the hospital. You'd think
No.
there would have been a policeman there at the hospital taking a statement.
We see him looking at the car as it speeds away, but nobody knows it's Tyrone's car.
No.
We know it's Tyrone's car
Yes, because you're Sherlock Holmes.
because I'm sad, and it got on my nerves, and I had to look it up. So anyway, Tyrone's car's been stolen. He parked it on Tyle Street, and now it's gone.
And Cassie
Isn't that
looks
strange?
shocked.
Right. Well, Tyrone's car is mysteriously stolen. It's left to Cassie to walk the girls to the bus stop, which she does, and then immediately abandons them before the bus arrives. So what was the point of walking them to the bus stop?
Right, yeah. Who knows? Maybe she's out of practice because she's never had to do it by herself before.
And in the trolls, Evelyn is in the mood about Captain Ahab there, a.k.a. Roy, who woke her up with the shipping forecast, which Roy finds soothing.
It is soothing.
Have you listened to the shipping forecast?
I used to listen to it all the time.
You got it here?
Yeah, well, believe it or not, we have the shipping news for things being shipped out from the United States as well.
Yeah, but that's got American razzmatazz on it. There's no
Not
razzmatazz
really.
on the
No,
Radio 4
no, it's just an old
shipping
man.
forecast.
It's just an old man reading things out.
Oh, it sounds pretty similar.
Yeah, it's on AM radio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he promises to wear headphones in the future. She was also disturbed by a poster of Robert Smith on the wall. I can understand that. Evelyn gives him a shopping list and then fucks off back to bed. Tyrone comes in at Nina's Rolls later and they talk about Evelyn and the teething problems of her moving in. Tyrone wants her to go easy on Roy, who hasn't had a chance to get to the shops to buy her anything that's on her list. But she says that she's a guest here and she should be treated as such. Tyrone thinks that she's a scrounger. Evelyn reckons that that's what his mum is. Well, what does that make you then, he says, and he flounces off. And during this scene, Evelyn also calls millennials millenniums.
Right. And she also says that Tyrone is a millennial, which I think he's slightly too old to be a millennial, isn't he? You said the other week that he was like slightly younger than you, and
He's
I
10
think
years
it's,
younger than me.
huh?
I think he's 10 years younger than me.
10 years. So that would mean that he was born in 81?
No, that would mean he was born in 83.
83. Yeah. I'm not good at math.
Come on, that's subtracting 10 from something.
I wasn't thinking. So that's kind of like right on the cusp, isn't it? Between millennial, that'd be like an exennial is what we call them here.
No, you're just making this up now. So, Evelyn goes back. Evelyn gets back from the shops with promises to make dinner, obviously taking Tyrone's advice to heart. But
Yeah.
then she and Roy end up arguing about the type of potato that's best for making jacket spuds. And Evelyn goes off in a huff.
He calls something the Rolls Royce of jacket potatoes.
Menace Pipers, and he's right.
Do we get those here?
I don't think so.
No.
Later, Evelyn's in the Rovers when Tyrone appears at the bar. He checks on how she is. He reckons that it must be tough living with Roy given how she feels about him. And if looks could kill
Yes.
Ellen.
Yes.
Back in Nina's Rolls.
And Cassie does not look happy that Tyrone is talking to Evelyn.
No, because that's all she cares about.
Right. Yeah. It's like, how dare you care about her?
Evelyn and Roy meet up after closing time at Nina's Rolls. She's brought dessert with her and an apology for earlier. And he apologises for preferring a different potato. And they head up to the upstairs in the flat. And
Yeah.
that's as far as we get
and
with that.
their child Freddie.
Right. There was a lot to chuckle at in this storyline, mostly thanks to Evelyn.
Yes. I thought there were 3 bedrooms in Roy's because let's not forget, Carla
Yeah.
and Nina both lived there at the same time with Roy, and I don't think they were sharing a bedroom. So I'm really confused about why Nina had to move out and why Evelyn had to move into Nina's bedroom.
I guess it's a small flat for 3 people to be living on top of each other in.
But there's another bedroom there.
Yeah, but still.
So even if Nina leaves, Evelyn doesn't have to sleep in Nina's bedroom, is
No.
what I'm saying.
No,
Did they forget that there are 3 bedrooms up there? Because what was Roy expecting racist Kelly to do?
yeah, I don't know.
Who knows?
Just to chop and change the maximum capacity of these places.
Right, yeah.
Well, no,
And of
Almost as if to suit the storyline.
right. And of all of the terrible things that happened this week, that's short change.
Yeah, Evelyn was really funny. It was nice to see Fizz again.
Yes, even if it's on a computer screen.
Please come back.
Please.
Please come back, Fizz.
Please come back, Fizz.
Because she'll sort this shite out.
Yes, she will.
And she'll take no piss from nobody.
Right, yeah. And she'll realize very quickly that Tyrone sugarcoated things.
So if Cassie stole Tyrone's car, how and when did she do it?
I don't know.
Because she's with Tyrone at the start.
Right, and she's with him at work. Mm-hmm. So she's with him all the time, unless like she did it in the middle of the night, or she stole his keys and slipped them to someone else. Or is it just some rando? It can't possibly be some rando, can it? Who just saw a car unattended?
Well, sure. And this is, well, let's think of all the things that have to happen for that coincidence to happen.
Right.
We have a car being stolen.
Right.
We have a child being knocked over
Correct.
by a car that has the license plate of the car that's been stolen.
Correct.
So if these things are completely separate and just a fact that the continuity department were on their lunch break and they don't care that they've used the same car as the one that's apparently been stolen. I mean, why is Tyrone's car been stolen?
Right.
Is the question.
You know-
What does that serve?
You know, I wonder if it was Dom, and then when they find out, then the social worker will finally say, "Oh yeah, you can't live with this guy," because it was a hit and run.
It was a hit and run.
It's terrible to hit a child to begin with,
Even Eliza
but to hit a child
with a car.
and then, well, with anything, do not hit children with anything.
Ill-advised.
Ill-advised.
Even Eliza.
But then to just take off.
Yeah.
And not stop and get out of the car and make sure she's okay. It does kind of make me feel like maybe it was Dom.
I think it is because
Because he's-
well, whoever drove off is the person who stole the car.
Right.
The person who clipped Eliza was kind of in a hurry round the corner.
Right.
Were they speeding? I don't
Well,
know.
they stole a car, so of course they're in a hurry.
Right, but if the car is driven by Tyrone, for example, and the car's in a hurry, I don't know if it was speeding or not, but if it was just like a regular person who'd hurt a little girl, your instinct is to get out of the car
And make sure she's
even
okay.
if it's your fault. I don't think it was their fault. It's the wee lassie's fault for stepping out into traffic.
Right.
But this
But
suggests
it makes it their fault when they speed away.
the minute that they drive off, obviously it's their fault. So
And
whoever,
it was also weird because they do stop. They do stop, and you see them you see the rearview mirror, and you see them stop, and then once Eliza is slowly getting up from the ground, that's when they take off.
right,
And Dom does get to the hospital very quickly
I think so too.
because he gets there before Alia.
And he has money problems, and he has car problems.
Yes. Yes. I forgot the fact. Well, he could be lying about the car problems because he does get there eventually.
Right.
And again,
Based on what we know, though.
he gets there very quickly for somebody who doesn't have a car at the moment, especially since he gets there faster than Alia.
And also gets a chance to buy an enormous teddy bear, which may be for sale downstairs. Who knows?
Right.
I'm not sure his motivation for stealing the car, other than maybe he doesn't have a car and he
Right.
doesn't have money, or he has money problems.
Right. And also, he's supposedly this really skeevy guy.
Yeah, but I think it makes more sense for him to steal it than Cassie.
Right.
And it looked like it was a man that was driving it.
Eh.
You could only see really the hand on the steering wheel, but the shape of the body looked like it was a man. But it's probably a stunt driver or whatever.
Right. Yeah. Very interesting.
But I don't think any of this has been picked up.
No.
So
I think we're the only ones who know that it's Tyrone's car.
who know
Us-
for sure that it's Tyrone's car? I think
Us and all of the spam on spammers on Facebook who were giving you advice for how to find your stolen car.
I feel like I have all the knowledge that I'm ever going to need on this now.
It's hilarious because a friend of ours, their car didn't get stolen, but their bike got stolen, and they had posted it publicly, you know, and this was like the fourth or fifth time his bike had been stolen. I feel so, and he uses his bike for work. And when he posted about his bike being stolen again, he was getting a lot of this spam about, oh, this is what you should do if your car is stolen. If you go to this app, they will help you out.
Right.
And he got very angry about it.
Right.
Poor Jeremy.
I don't know if people are assuming that because Tyrone's mentioned that his car's got stolen and a car was involved in this hit and run, that one thing equals the other. But
Right.
if they're sticking to the continuity, it is Tyrone's car.
Yes. And see, this is the bit of both of these storylines that does genuinely interest me, is the hit and run and who's driving the car.
Mm-hmm.
That's genuinely interesting.
Right. So if it isn't Dom, then it would be somebody that's outside that storyline that's done it, and that kind of gets messy
Right.
storyline-wise.
If it's not Dom and it's not Cassie, or it's not somebody who Cassie sold the car to for drug money, which we haven't seen her high at all this week.
No.
So probably not.
No.
And she does buy the fish and chips
Right,
and come back with it, with actual fish and chips.
right.
So who knows?
Well, that's what I think it is. We will
Stay
find
tuned.
out in due course. And do you know, Metro or Manchester Evening News, if you want to interview me about this, you've got my deets.
Yes. They really should. They really should, because it's very interesting and you are very smart.
Persistent. Our next storyline
I'm smart.
Our next storyline tonight is racist love triangle. Even though it's not a triangle.
It's not a triangle. Nobody loves racist Kelly.
On Monday, Mrs. Periwinkle, she doesn't love racist Kelly, but she's getting her hair cut at the salon. Max is
And
there.
her name is Mrs. Periwinkle. Like she's just stepped out of a box of Clue.
She looked like she was in her 40s as well. Mrs. Periwinkle? You need to be 90 to be Mrs. Periwinkle,
She
don't
had
you?
very white hair.
I thought it was blonde.
It was white.
Max is there supposedly to be part of an apprenticeship, but he's too busy checking his phone for updates about racist Kelly, and this rubs David's tits the wrong way. He tells Max to quit worrying about her and start worrying about himself.
Yes.
This broad, she can look after herself.
Why is David working in the hair salon and not the barber's?
And later, why is Kev getting his hair cut at the salon and not the barber's?
Right. I'm so confused. Is the barber shut down because of the dangerous motorcycle inside?
Who knows?
Who knows?
Later, Roy comes in to the salon from another storyline to tell Max that racist Kelly is now living at the precinct and has a job in a racist call centre as well, and apparently earns enough now to afford £700 per calendar month.
I don't know if he tells him that it's in the precinct. I think he just says that she has found a place to live, because he's very surprised
Right.
later on.
Yeah, later Max is with Sabina, and they're about to smooch outside Sabina's house when racist Kelly comes out, and they awkwardly realise that they're neighbours now. Belt her. Because racist Kelly's staying at number 4, and Sabina with Gav,
Number 3.
number 3. And that's as far as we get with that. That actually probably should have been in amongst another storyline, but it seemed separate enough, and I thought we were going to come back to it, and then we never did.
No. It is always fun to watch David cut people's hair. Because
It's when
he
he
turns
gives-
he turns on the charm.
Oh, he's got the patter all right.
He's
Don't
got
worry
the
about
patter
that.
with the old ladies. It's you forget that there's this side of David.
Oh, never you mind, Mrs. P. You just close your ears. We've got some family stuff going on here.
Right. And then the whole thing with people's spirit animals, which is
Spirit animal.
which is not an okay thing to say, by the way, but it's fine. You're British, you don't know. About people's hair having its own spirit animals, and Kev is a badger just like you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although I'm turning into a polar bear. Let's face it.
You'll always be your beard is still badger.
It's getting whiter and whiter.
You'll always
My
be.
moustache is starting to go grey as well, which was the last.
Your eyebrows
bit.
will always be black.
Yes, they will be black 50 years after I'm dead.
And you'll always be my badger.
There we go.
Because that has nothing to do with your hair.
All right, let's move on. Our next story is, well, I guess we're going to have some stupid shenanigans between racist Kelly and
Sabrina.
in coming weeks.
Which, again, can't we just let Max and Sabrina be happy and maybe make racist Kelly a little less terrible?
And why would racist Kelly be thrown into care if she's got 2 jobs and can afford a £700 rent?
Because of her age?
But if she can afford that and she's able to live on her own.
Well, she didn't have the second job when Roy suggested calling social services.
I don't know, that bit just seemed weird to me. Anyway, okay, let's move on this time to Aadi of Love.
Boo.
Oh. On Monday, Darren's and Dev's and whatever deal it was that they were working on in previous weeks with Freshco is gone through, Darren comes in to tell Dev. They arrange for a night out to celebrate with their other halves and Aadi. Amy comes in and she gets an invite too to chaperone Aadi no mates, but Amy tells them to suck on her balls, she's not interested. Later, Aadi wonders why he's been invited along and doesn't fancy it, but Dev talks him into it, saying it's worth celebrating and he's paying. So Aadi agrees and wanders away, leaving Dev to wonder why he's not so keen on sitting at a table with grown-ups.
Right.
He badgers her passing Amy again, pointing out that Darren might not be a bad bloke to get on side for her counselling service charity thing.
Yes, and he says, you darn kids, you darn Gen Zers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Then Courtney Boobs turns up at the corner shop, we've not seen her in a while, to talk to Aadi about the business meeting that they're about to attend. She's not looking forward to it because it means that she can't feel him up on the down low. She realises that she doesn't deserve him. We don't deserve this. Amy gets Aadi on his own at the shop later and winds him up about being his date tomorrow at the Bistro for the stupid dinner thing because Amy has now agreed to go along.
Right, yeah.
Aadi wonders why Amy doesn't like Courtney and she says that Courtney doesn't care about him.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. Yeah. She's using you. She's manipulating you. She's grooming you. It's bad.
Well, we have a little theory brewing about this storyline that we'll talk about at the end of it. On Wednesday, Dev is making a big deal about the meal tonight to celebrate the deal that's gone through. What a horribly constructed sentence that was.
Yes.
Bernie is pissed that she has to get changed for this, and Aadi is pissed that Amy has been roped into it and claims to have a girl on the side called Monica who lives in Canada and you don't know her.
Right.
Do you see what you did there with Monica?
Does this have something to do with Friends?
Courtney Cox.
Okay.
Monica.
All right. No, you're right.
So now we're to believe that Aadi watches Friends.
Right, yeah. I mean, our children watch Friends. So.
At the Bistro, Aadi and Amy are chatting about the situation with Courtney. Darren is convinced that she's having an affair, and Amy wonders what he'll do when he finds out it's Aadi that she's bonking. And what about the deal? Before he can answer, Dev, Bernie, Darren and Courtney Boobs arrive. The latter two already sniping at each other, and Bernie is not impressed with Dev's schmoozing, particularly with Courtney Boobs.
Right. It was hilarious before they got there when Dev was freaking out about what shirt to wear, and they were both identical pink shirts.
Yeah.
And Bernie says, the blue one.
Yes, that was funny. During dinner, Amy manages to get a donation promise from Darren for her charity, and Dev, meanwhile, is flattering Courtney and her perfume choices. It's seduction or something like that, wasn't it?
Right, yeah.
Conversation turns to Aadi's new flame, and Courtney would love to hear about Monica, who Aadi describes as sexy and funny and exciting, and Amy can't wait to meet her, she says. Courtney leaves the table after sending Aadi an excuse to meet her outside, so in the landing, in the foyer, I'm not sure
Somewhere.
what you would call it.
It looked like a
Or
closet.
a vestibule of some sort.
Right.
On the way to the toilet.
And this is after her husband berates her for using her cell phone at the table as if she was his daughter.
Yeah.
Which is terrible.
So wherever that is, on the way to the bathroom,
Right.
they're all over each other. I'm Monica. Kiss me, you fool.
Right. And it's like, really, guys? Really? And then she's like, I thought you liked the danger. And it's like, no, he said he didn't like the danger.
He's never said that he liked the danger.
No.
Never once has he said that.
No.
So while they're winching, Dev steps out and catches them.
What the fuck is going on here?
He asks, what is this? Many, many times. He reckons that they've lost their minds. Courtney leaves them to it and heads back to the table. And Dev explains how much they have invested in this deal, calls Aadi an entitled fuck for rolling his eyes, and sends him back to the table to behave himself. At the bar, Bernie wants to know why Dev went after Courtney, and he says he just wanted to make sure that she was okay, but Bernie reckons that Dev fancies Courtney. He says he's just keeping them happy for the deal. It's all about the deal.
Right, yes. But which is fair enough, but he didn't have to be so very, very terrible to Bernie.
No.
In the process by saying that the perfume wouldn't work on her. She needs something more robust. Fuck you, Dev.
Robust is a adjective to use while describing an attribute of a lady.
That you are sleeping with.
Oh, some lovely, robust sex. At the table, the conversation continues to be loaded, and eventually Darren is winded up enough to accuse Courtney flat out of cheating on him, and he's determined to find out who with. She gleefully admits it and says it makes them even, and she goads him further by saying that he's got great hair and he's hiding in plain sight. She might as well point to Aadi at this point.
Right, yeah. Fuck her for doing this
Right.
to this kid.
She storms off, and Darren immediately jumps to the conclusion that it's Dev.
That was funny.
And when he launches himself at Dev, who has great hair for his age,
He does have great hair for his age.
Aadi admits that he's the one who's getting his hole off of his missus. Darren is perplexed by this. It just kind of happened, says Aadi. I hope it was worth it, snaps Darren, because you'll be working in your dad's shitty shop for the rest of your life. And he leaves, letting Dev pick up the tab, who I think was going to pay for it anyway.
Right.
Back home, Aadi tells Dev that he's in love, and this doesn't have to be the end of their working relationship with Darren, and he says that he can talk to him.
Yeah.
Then Courtney comes in. Aadi calls her babe. Ugh.
Ew.
Darren has black bagged her, and Dev's about to do the same. Darren is Dev's friend, he says. Aadi threatens to walk if he throws her out and backs Darren over him. And it's unclear at this point how this ends, but Dev throws some money at somebody and then storms out.
Right, yeah.
I assume...
And where's Nina in all of this?
I think we earned a little shot of Nina in bed with the covers pulled up to her chin, just looking like, what
the hell?
absolute fuck is going on here? On Friday, Dev and Asha are not happy. Courtney has stayed the night, and Dev can't get a hold of Darren. Asha, though, is curious where Dev gets off lecturing anyone about anything, which is fair enough.
When it comes to...
Matters of the heart.
Yes.
Later, when everyone else is gone, Courtney gets up in her dressing gown and slippers, so she's come prepared. She could get used to pampering like this as Aadi goes off to make her a new cup of coffee because the last one went cold. And Dev shouts at Amy about the Aadi situation, and she admits that she knew about it, but it wasn't her story to tell. Aadi comes in worried that it's a bad time to talk, which Amy finds hilarious. He asks if Courtney can stay a bit longer. Dev advises Aadi to think of his future and his talent and not throw it away on a woman like Courtney Boobs. At the bistro, Courtney announces that Darren has cut her off and has cancelled her credit cards, like she's surprised that this would happen.
Right. And this is the woman who is like, oh, I'm independent. I have my own money. I have a degree.
Mm-hmm. Everything is in Darren's name. She asks if Aadi is okay paying for this as she sips on a glass of wine. She gets a call from Darren telling her that he's starting divorce proceedings and reminds her of their prenup. What?
Right. But if she was independently wealthy before they met and has this fancy business degree and everything and had her own money before they got married, then even if at this point she hasn't been working in years because he didn't want her to work, she should still walk with whatever she came into the marriage with. One would assume she had money before she met him.
Right.
Unless all of that was just bullshit, which it probably was.
Well, at least she's still got massive boobs. Aadi thinks that she should speak to a solicitor. There's no way Darren can cut her off like that. And in the store, Dev and Amy are chatting about his example to his children about relationships when Darren comes in and shakes Dev's hand. There's no hard feelings and he holds no ill will to him, but Aadi's name is mud in the business world now, and Darren will go solo on the deal. Thank you very much. And that's as far as we get with that
And
this
I
week.
say good day to you, sir.
Yes, I said good day.
Dev has invested money in this.
Has he? Or has he done it yet?
Well, remember, he was freaking out. Remember how much we have invested in this. And Amy keeps pointing out to Aadi how this is dangerous because of the money that his dad has fronted for all of this.
I think he has the money ready to invest in this
Right.
and wants to invest in this. But here's what I'm thinking is happening. This is all a play by Darren and Courtney. There is no deal with Freshco's. We never see Dev at a meeting with Freshco's. It's always Darren telling Dev how the meeting went and if the deal is on or off. So, Darren and Courtney dream up this proposed deal. They get Courtney to make out with Aadi, or it could have been Dev. They get found out. The deal is suddenly off because of Aadi. Dev, who obviously has so much time and stuff invested into this, wants this to happen.
Right.
So Darren says to him, tell you what, I'll still do this deal with you, but it's going to cost you twice as much.
Yeah, I don't see that happening.
That's where I see this going. That's my prediction on this.
Yeah, I mean...
Because the alternative is that Courtney fancies Aadi.
Well, that's obviously not true, but it feels like she was using him to make her husband angry. That's what she's using him for. That because, she says, you're one to talk and I'm just getting back at you, sort of thing. So I'm going to take her at her word that that's exactly what she's doing.
There's something about this couple that doesn't add up.
Well, I will agree with you there because especially the fact that they're like right in the middle of this negotiation and then they fuck off to the Caribbean. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Right.
And also, she says to Aadi now, or she says over the phone to her husband, well, you didn't want me to work. But the impression that we've got from all of the meetings that they've had is that she plays a part in his business, that they work out deals together. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't sound to me like the kind of husband that doesn't want his wife to work if they're working together for most of this. There's an awful lot that doesn't make sense here.
Right.
But I think it's purely manipulating and using and grooming a young man just to get back at her husband.
I think this is a chance for Dev to lose all his money all over again. Because it's been a few years since he lost all his money trying to buy the nudes of Asha off the internet.
Well, trying to keep them off the internet.
Now he's amassed a bit of money again and he's mortgaged some businesses and stuff. He's got some cash that he's about to lose it again, and this time it's Aadi's fault.
Well, he's still paying to keep Asha's nudes off the internet.
I think we've forgotten about that.
Well, because doesn't he mention it like last week?
Just very, very occasionally. No, he hasn't mentioned it in any age.
I don't know. I don't know.
There's something rotten in the state of Denmark here.
Right, yeah. Well, let's just remember, we've always hated the storyline.
Oh, yeah, and
it also, at this point, it does, I was kind of surprised that all of these things get admitted this week. Because it felt like this was a slow burn and now all of a sudden everything's out in the open and stuff.
Yes.
It kind of makes me feel like the show almost immediately realized how very bad this storyline is and rewrote it on the fly to wrap it up very quickly.
Oh, I don't know.
I kind of feel like this about another storyline. It kind of feels, because I'm like, why would they kill off Paul, who is a character that most people like, and Peter Ash is a very good actor in acting him.
Those dimples, man.
Yeah, and those eyes, very, very, very blue. And I was thinking about how there's been some criticism of the show that Paul is not played by a gay actor.
Yeah.
And it makes me wonder if they're killing him off because after the fact, they realize, yeah, this may not be the look we want to have a gay actor or a gay character played by a straight actor. I don't know. I mean, they have plenty of gay people in the show playing straight characters. So they've got Yasmin and they've got Bernie, who are both lesbians playing straight people in love with terrible men.
Well, that's the price you pay. Let's move on to comparing briefs. On Monday, At the law office,
okay.
Joel shows up to see Dee Dee on the pretense that he's going to work in the US and looking for some advice from her, so he asks her out for a drink later to discuss American legal system.
You're going to need something a lot stronger.
Adam watches on with a smile as he notices something that Dee Dee doesn't. Joel is waiting in the Rovers with a bottle of red as Dee Dee arrives, and she's very much in a business frame of mind to give him the presentation on how law is done in the United States of America. And it must have lasted like a couple hours because she's back in the lawyer's office after the meeting with Joel, which was all business, so Adam has to spell it out to her. Joel wants to get you into bed. And this is news to Dee Dee. In the Rovers, Adam continues to act as matchmaker and encourages her to give his office a call, as he probably thinks that she isn't interested when she absolutely is.
Well, is she?
Oh, she seems to be.
Yeah. But there's a part of her that seems hesitant here, doesn't there?
Well, there's something that Michael's about to say here that kind of backs up what you're saying. On Wednesday, Dee Dee lands in the lawyer's office with a brace of empty cups for her and Adam. Sarah's letting Adam have soft play for the night, which is nice, and he's in such a good mood about this, he decides to rip the piss out of her for not knowing when a bloke was desperate to get her into underwear. Later, Michael comes round to hang out in the lawyer's office and reminds Dee Dee of other times that she ignored the bobby that was right in front of her. And then Joel comes in to return the book that she lent him, and she guesses that he didn't really want the book, he wanted to ask her out, but he makes matters more confusing by pretending to really want the book, but eventually he does ask her out, but Dee Dee's dance card is filled for the foreseeable future, thanks to Adam, so he fucks off, leaving his number.
In the book. He wrote in someone else's book. Who does that?
In the other roles, Michael tears into Dee Dee for knocking back Joel so that she can play agony aunt for Adam, dump Adam, and make Joel her goal. And this is a bit that annoyed me. Is Dee Dee supposed to just say yes to the first bloke that shows the least amount of interest in her?
Right, yeah. What is wrong with these men?
Look at her.
Seriously.
Look at her.
Yes.
Look at this Joel character.
Right.
Now look at her again.
Yes. Joel
She's
is punching
she's
above his weight.
She's supposed to drop everything. She's supposed to drop her friends and the support that she's given to Adam, which is important to her, because some guy has shown her the slightest bit of interest.
Right. Yeah.
Come on.
Dee Dee does not need any help, people. Look at her.
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Gorgeous.
She is. And she's always dressed so well.
Yes.
It seems never in the same thing twice.
No. She is so freaking pretty. And like her brother and her friend are acting like she should jump at the chance to date this dude.
Or you'll die alone.
Right, yeah.
What? And Michael says, you're young-ish. What?
She is young.
She in her 30s?
Yeah.
She ain't dead yet.
No, not even close. And I mean, part of that is a big brother winding her up.
Right.
And, you know, he's not getting any younger either. And he also has a child.
Yeah, that's not the only thing he's no getting.
So he should look to himself, because we've only seen him date Grace on the show.
Physician, heal thyself. In the pub, Adam has been dumped by soft play, so he's morose with Dee Dee, talking about his failed marriage, and that's what Dee Dee chooses to do over meeting Joel.
Which is fine.
Yeah. On Friday, at the law office, Dee Dee is chatting to Adam about Joel, which is back on again apparently. She's careful not to share why it was off again, which was because Adam is a lonely loser, but then she absolutely does share that with him, and he's affronted.
Right. Well, she shows him a different text, and then is surprised that he scrolls up and sees the other text.
Right. Which was a bit cheeky on his part.
Right, but who's not going to do that? You give somebody else your phone.
You go a snooping?
Yeah, well, it's just scrolling up. It's not like he's digging through old emails or something.
Oh, I don't think this is measured in effort. He's snooping. He shouldn't be doing that. At the bistro, Dee Dee shows up for a night with Adam to find Adam has invited Joel instead. Adam is not about to let her put her social life on hold for him. Look at this man. He's asked you out. You should go out with him. Joel and Dee Dee are getting on famously, though, as they chat about family and being the middle child. Joel has heard of James Bailey and is a county fan. He doesn't look like a county fan.
No, not with those pants.
Adam and Daniel are at the pub talking about how sad Adam must be for Dee Dee to throw off a date for him. He's missing Sarah and Harry and regretting that the part that he played and all that. I'm glad that they're acknowledging this because he just split up with Sarah and then we never talked about it again.
Yeah.
It was the only thing that the show was talking about, and then we're just forgetting that it happened.
Yeah. That's the show for you.
Right, yeah, that is the show. So Dee Dee and Joel are walking home from their date. She gives him a kiss in the cheek, and he responds by giving her a couple of kisses on her lips.
Right, yes, without asking consent.
They both look forward to their next date, and as they part, Adam comes along and she admits that she had a great time and thanks him for setting the whole thing up. And that brings us on to this week's
And
hard
then
debate.
they go up into their shared flat together.
Yeah, I forgot he was staying there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not going to... Oh, wait a minute. Oh, no. Oh, fucking hell. Show! I don't know if there's any point in this hard debate now. It's...
Did you not? You're as thick as Dee Dee is with some of this stuff, my friend.
I'm not very good at noticing things that I'm accusing Dee Dee of. Those things I'm not very good at noticing myself.
No, you're not.
So, the hard debate was, what is Joel's mandatory secret?
He's really gay.
Is he gay?
Yeah.
Is he not a lawyer? Does he have a terminal illness? Or does he have racist parents?
He's gay. Because remember, there was a joke made about, are you sure I'm the member of my family you're the most interested in?
Yeah, I did notice that.
Yeah.
But then he says, no, you're definitely more attractive to me. Oh, but better than that.
Yeah.
Anyway, this poll still has 21 hours to run, but so far, gay has 44.6% of the vote. Not a lawyer, 26.2%.
How can anybody say that when we're introduced to him being Racist Kelly's lawyer?
Terminal illness, 3.1%. And racist parents, 26.2%.
So he's definitely gay then.
So far, the money, out of those four choices, he's got a secret.
Right, because everybody's got a
everyone's
secret.
got a secret. So, at the moment, the money seems to be on being gay. How do I feel about that? Well, how I feel about that is Adam bisexual all of a sudden?
Why would Adam be bisexual?
If Dee Dee is and Adam are living together, and Joel gets a wee invite up to Dee Dee's, and if Joel is indeed gay, does Joel have a quick wee go on Adam, and Adam decides that, do you know what, this ain't so bad.
Might as well. Because that's how sex works.
Your hole's your hole.
No. Well, I don't
Because
know.
what's the point of him being gay then? There's obviously a better way of
What
saying
is
that.
the point of being gay? It makes no sense.
Clip that. Get that clipped.
It would give Todd something to do.
Then why get Dee Dee involved in it?
I don't know. I'm just desperately hoping that when Paul dies, Todd and Billy don't get back together again. Because that would suck.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're not even talking about that storyline yet. I don't know. It seemed like
It's given us a couple of clues.
too important of a flyaway comment to make on a first date and stuff.
The alternative is that
Or is he a serial killer?
we haven't got rid of the first one yet.
He's not the first one.
Well, not the first one, the current one. We've not got rid of
Right.
the current one yet. I've seen a lot of comments about Dee Dee and Adam getting together, and
Yeah.
I really don't want that to happen.
Yeah, that's where I kind of fear this is going.
I like them being friends.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to have the occasional relationship between a man and a woman that is just platonic and based on that they like each other, and that's
Right.
and that's as far as it goes.
Right. Yeah, like what we had briefly with Tim and Aggie.
Right.
And apparently they are still friends. We just don't know where Aggie is. Bring Aggie back.
Well, we're about to talk about that.
I am grateful that they've realized that Dee Dee is gorgeous and needs to have men falling all over themselves for her, because at this point she's only had, what's his name, who ended up stooping Sarah? Damien. That's his name.
Damon is the son of Beelzebub.
Yes. Same person. They both hang out in cornfields.
What on earth does that mean? Oh well, I think we better move on.
I'm misremembering my evil children from movies.
I just assumed you were quoting Bob Dylan. Our penultimate storyline tonight is, do you want to bet? On Friday, Ed is in Nina's Rolls doing a crossword and accidentally hears horse racing tips on the radio that's in the calf. Ronnie comes in to tell him that the contracts have been exchanged on a new project, and he proposes a celebration at Speed Dial later, 5 p.m, and then we see that Ed has scribbled down a horse's name on his paper, net curtain, at 10 to 1 at the 4:30. So kind of near the time that he's supposed to be having dinner. Ronnie and Debbie in Speed Dial are waiting for Ed and Aggie, who isn't there. Ed's running late though. Where on earth could he be? And he gets to the table late, claiming that he had a mix-up in times. There's still no sign of Aggie, who is still with her auntie, and again, that is not a euphemism.
No.
Then Kirk comes in and says that he saw Ed on Curzon Street, but Ed pretends that it wasn't him, and Ronnie is instantly suspicious.
Correct.
So when Debbie goes off for a pish, Ronnie gets a chance to quiz Ed about the 4 different bookies that are on Curzon Street, and maybe Ed has been a naughty boy. Ed denies it, which Ronnie thinks is defensive, and reminds him to let his brother know if he's struggling. Ed says he's fine, and he swears on it.
Right.
So Ronnie lets it go.
And he's very careful in the way he words things. He's like, I'm not struggling. If I am struggling, I will let you know, which is not a denial of going to bed.
That's true. That's true.
So it's very cute how deplorable Debbie and Ronnie are together. They're so cute.
Yes.
They're so cute together. You know, at first I thought Ronnie had made the wrong choice and should have stayed with Jenny. But
that still would have worked.
yeah. But you know what? I feel like this works better because Debbie and Ronnie are the same kind of devious together.
I think so.
And they're so cute together,
I like
talking
them
about
together.
how, you know, Debbie eats all the food when they split something together.
Yeah, you absolutely know that's true. Yeah, she just leaves
so cute.
leaves the scraggy bits.
Right.
Yeah. Can we talk about Kirk just for a second?
Kirk going dolphin free. It's like, that's
Dolphin
like,
free gravy granules and dolphin free samosas or
Yes.
something.
right. It's like, can't you make a joke about something that's a current concern? Because dolphin free tuna has been around since like the early aughts, if not the 1990s. That's how you say 1990s.
Is it?
Yes. So,
Yeah, I remember it from quite a while ago.
yeah, like when we were kids, like during the whole Save the Whales thing, and look how that turned out. Now the orcas are destroying yachts for us, and it's nice.
Orcas aren't whales.
They're dolphins.
They're dolphins.
Yes. But still, we call them whales. And then the humpback whales are going after the orcas for killing seals. It's all weird and it's all connected. But, you know, like, what's a thing? He could be going around and asking if things are carbon free or grown under solar panels or something, or non-GMO.
It's got to be stupid because Kirk is stupid. Well, apparently Kirk is so stupid that he thinks everything can be dolphin friendly.
Well, I mean,
And
he's not wrong that the gravy granules are dolphin friendly. It
well,
is
there because they couldn't possibly be anything
dolphin
other than that.
unfriendly.
Yeah.
It's like they have a dartboard with just random words on it, and they just throw darts at the dartboard. Okay, what stupid thing is Kirk going to be obsessed with this week?
It's manatees.
Right.
It's manatees that bring back story ideas. You've got a huge big... If South Park is to be believed, they've got a big pool full of red balls that manatees swim in. They just grab a ball at random and bring it back to one of the writers, and that's what Kirk's is this week.
How do manatees get to Colorado?
It's in California.
Oh.
Because it's the studios for Family Guy that this...
Oh,
that
okay. That
they
makes
were
sense.
satirizing.
That makes perfect sense. All right, carry on.
No, I'm done.
Yeah.
I just hate that we have 90 seconds to fill, so let's get Kirk in a couple of scenes
Right.
being so mind-blowingly stupid that
Right.
he's like 3 weeks away from smearing his own shite on the walls.
Mm-hmm. Just so he can come in, he says something stupid, and then he reveals a plot point. And, you know, and then he goes away again.
Yeah.
What is the point of this character anymore? It's kind of like what they've done to poor Mary. When was the last time Mary got a story? They're dragging their feet on her and Brian hooking up.
Mary had the play at least, which was somewhat serious. Kirk had the
breakup with...
Right, with Beth, and
Now they're back together
and that got
again.
reset really
Yeah.
simply. It's a shame because if he's going to be on the show, you might as well give him something better to do than this pish.
Right. There are so many other characters who do interesting things who we haven't seen in months. Bring them back.
That's
Give
basically
Kirk a
my
break.
point. All right, our final storyline is 10,000 Steps. On Wednesday, Paul is about to head to Shelley's when Billy stops him about a letter that he's received and kind of opened as well.
Right, and already read.
Oopsie. Paul decides to find this delightful.
Right.
It's an appointment request from a palliative nurse, which Paul sees as a grim reaper sharpening her scythe.
Yes.
He grabs his stick and slowly walks off, which makes Billy pull that face. And this is kind of, ever since Paul's been diagnosed with motor neuron disease, they've had him walking everywhere.
Right. I choose to believe his statement on the gender of death to mean that he's a fan of Neil Gaiman Sandman comic books.
Oh, that was me. That wasn't him.
Oh. I thought he did say her.
No.
Oh.
Paul
Never
had read
mind.
that Shelley's.
Paul sucks.
She's still not looking like she should be starting reading any long books or buying any green bananas, if
Correct.
you know what I mean.
Yes.
He finds it comforting that she can have a laugh about death and their fate, which he doesn't get that from Billy.
No.
They talk about Shelley's musical choices for her funeral for a bit, and Paul talks about some of the things he'd like to do before he goes. Like there's these statues on a beach that he wants to go and see, and he's never been to Scotland.
How has he never been to Scotland? It's right there.
It's there.
Daniel could have taken
Have
him.
you seen it? It's right there.
It's right there.
Shelley pretends, I think, to reckon that Paul's on the turn and fancies a bit of what she's got to offer. She's in a fit of coughing at this, and Paul reckons that he should stay the night because she's sounding really bad, which makes it worse. And then her carer, Jim, arrives and the moment passes. Paul heads home to break the news to Billy that he's now heterosexual, or possibly bi. When Paul gets home, he sees Billy taking charge of a wheelchair that they don't need for now, but in the meantime, Billy's going to cover it with a dishcloth or something.
He's going to cover it with a tarpaulin.
They chat about Shelley, who Paul thinks is in a bad way. It's a tough watch, says Billy, and I'm not sure if he's talking about the show in general at this point. On Friday, Paul and Billy are out of the flat, and Paul nearly goes ass over tit within a few steps, but still refuses the wheelchair. And Daniel and Daisy are in Nina's roles. He tries to arrange a night out for the pair of them, but they're too busy. And then Daniel is thinking about getting a tablet for Bertie because he keeps playing with his phone, and now it's like 28 minutes until he can unlock it. Bernie overhears this, and she suggests a cheap tablet at half the price, brand new, mostly all above board. And Daniel says that he'll think about it. In Nina's roles, Todd and George are still standoffish with each other. Todd has a new laptop which is spied by Paul and Billy. Todd says he got it from Big Garth at the market, and Billy notes that it's the same make that Summer got, and this makes Paul very suspicious of Bernie all of a sudden. At the quad house, Bernie's trying to shift all the boxes of laptops out the house, but it's caught when Paul arrives. She says she's just doing a favour for Garth, but Paul notices that all the boxes are addressed to Shelley. He quickly puts 2 and 2 together, finds it hard to believe that Bernie's doing this out of the goodness of her heart, but she insists she's doing it to make Shelley's and Paul's lives easier, and she shows him the money that she's made that she wants to dedicate to buying improvements in the house. He melts to this, but knows that dodgy dealings aren't the way, and he doesn't want her in jail. Bernie doesn't care and begs him to turn a blind eye to this. Back home, Billy has some great news. The stag news is a goer. Paul tells him about Bernie's scheme for Shelley, and Billy thanks him for sharing and says that returning the money or not is up to Paul. Paul decides that he doesn't want anything to do with it and goes off to tell Shelley that she can't use Bernie as a fence anymore, and he also has some plans to stop off at a vinyl store to buy Shelley a gospel record that she wants. Billy fingers his moustache in thought. So Paul's in a sketchy part of town near a canal with graffiti and stuff.
That's how you know it's a sketchy part of town.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like that movie, that French movie we watched the other day where we know the main character is pretending to be poor because she's eating in a kebab shop.
Right. You know, the best kebab I had in my life was in Paris.
I believe that.
Just wonderful.
Yeah.
He calls Shelley on his way to see her with the record and leaves a message, but as he's walking, his legs give way and he's on the ground and there's nobody there to help. He struggles to get up but doesn't have the energy and he can't reach his phone, so he's left to shout for help. He manages to get to his phone, calls Gemma for some reason, but to no avail, and it looks like he might call Billy, but then doesn't. So it looks like it's a night on a deserted canal front for Paul.
And also, apparently, he's broken that record, which I call bullshit on, because records don't break that easily.
Yeah, they're tough. They're toughy things.
And also, like original records that were made out of something not vinyl, you know, that were partially glass. Yes, those broke quite frequently. This would not break like this. And also, it should be in a sleeve. It's just basically a record in like the paper sleeve. It doesn't have the cover on it. What bullshit vinyl store is he going to for this record?
I had a few records like that in my time that didn't have a proper cover, that just had the paper inner sleeve. I had a few like that.
Yeah, where'd you buy them?
Oh, Woolworths or something like that.
Really? Mm-hmm. That's bullshit.
No, it's true.
Well, no, but it is bullshit.
No, it's true.
No, I believe you, but it's bullshit that people are selling records like that in like Woolworths. I didn't even know you had Woolworths.
Oh, we didn't. They've gone bust. This was new. Buying it brand new like that.
Yeah, nobody should be selling brand new records in paper sleeves.
Well, this is how they came. This wasn't
What is wrong with your country?
This wasn't that long after the war, Helen. Anyway, it's Todd who eventually arrives and helps Paul up and leads him to the canal for a slash. No looking now.
Hey.
And after that awkward moment, Paul is loaded into Todd's hearse, and Todd tells Paul that he needs to accept that he's going to need a wheelchair, and he also calls him wet leg.
Well, yeah, and Paul gets offended initially because Todd is talking about the band Wet Leg.
Todd delivers Paul back to the God flat. Summer has her Battenberg sweater on specially. Billy quickly gets some first aid stuff while Summer leaves with Todd. Paul says nothing hurts, which is worrying because he's clearly hurt himself.
Right.
He explains what happened, how he just lay there all hopeless, and he broke Shelley's record, and he breaks down crying. He still doesn't want to use a wheelchair, but he knows it's time.
Yeah.
So Paul tries it out and then realises that he only has one hand to push it, so he's just going to go round in circles. So Summer has to push him, and they make a laugh out of it. After some coaxing from Billy, they even head to the pub. So Paul's feeling pretty self-conscious when he goes in with a wheelchair, but he joins Daniel and Adam's table with George helping them into the booth, and everyone's rooting for him, and it's all just nice and community and stuff.
Yeah, and it's nice because you remember that Daniel and Paul are friends and used to be roommates.
The gang are all chatting about Dev and Aadi from another storyline, and Bernie thanks Paul for not being too harsh on her. Paul mentions that he didn't even get a chance to visit Shelley, but he's decided that he's going to need the money, and he begs her to be careful with what she's doing. And back at the God flat later, Paul has come to terms with the wheelchair and appreciates the freedom it's going to give him so long as Summer's there to push him about. He's still upset about Shelley's record, but Summer reckons that they can get a replacement. He doesn't know what he would do without Shelley, so he goes to call her, but there's no answer, and it goes to voicemail, And that's because
Shelley's
Shelley is
dead.
dead. And that's how we end this week's episodes.
Yeah. You know when I knew she was dead? When he's walking those graffiti streets.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, yeah, she's dead. I thought he was gonna be the one to find her instead of falling and having to pee behind a dumpster.
Yeah, she'd been talking about her funeral on Wednesday. She was definitely going to die.
Yeah. And she was coughing more. And her
Yeah.
palliative care person seemed really concerned.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was the palliative care guy who found her.
Right.
And he seemed to linger a little bit outside the room. And I don't know if that was just because he was sad or is there something weird going on?
Did you notice all the boxes?
Did he help her go?
No, I think he's just sad. I don't
Really?
want to read anything else into it.
He just lingered a little bit, and the camera lingered on him lingering. That
Right.
made me wonder,
Because he's sad.
there's something a little bit more to it than that.
Right.
I don't know.
Let's remember, she was a wild one.
She was a live wire.
She was a live wire, and now she's a dead wire.
She is. I quite like Shelley.
Yeah. I kind of wish they'd gotten a little bit more use out of her.
Yeah. She was hardly in it.
Yeah.
Just a handful of episodes, but
Yeah.
was
Enough to
good.
get involved with Big Garth.
right, it was good. Well, yeah, exactly. Look at what she managed to accomplish in just a few episodes. That
Right.
she was a real use to Paul, helped him out, helped him come to terms and deal with his situation, I guess, more healthily than he was before, and also set up this thing with
Bernie.
with Bernie and Big Garth, which
Yeah.
I presume is going to come back to bite somebody in the arse now that she's dead.
Right.
And we've got people going into her flat and nobody's there to hide stuff. So I presume something's going to come back to bite Bernie in the arse here.
Well, nobody's going to be buying anything else with that credit card.
That's true.
So maybe it'll be fine. I am concerned about how much talk about going to the jail for this has been mentioned.
Yeah, just it's cause for concern, certainly.
Yes, because we don't want Bernie to miss the death of her son. That would be tragic.
Oof. Yeah, that'd be tough.
It would be tough.
We've got Todd being there to
Yeah, I knew
to
that
help
was
Paul,
Todd right
which
away
was
too.
going to be nice.
Before they pan up to show Todd's face, I was like, "That's Todd,"
Yeah, of course.
because I guess I recognize Gareth Pierce's legs for some reason.
I think we're all at that point now. But it was good that it was him, and
Yeah,
he brings a little bit of levity to the situation. And
right. And he can be a straight shooter with Paul, and Paul kind of accepts things
Right.
from Todd more than Billy because
yeah, it's true. Yeah, absolutely.
Todd just tells it straight without giving him that pitiful look, like "I'm so sad that you're dying" sort of look.
We need to get a wriggle on here for this wedding, though, because Paul's dream of walking down the aisle
Is over.
looks like it's not going to happen. And the way that he really deteriorated so quickly during that walk. But
Yeah.
well, why do we have him walking for miles all of a sudden?
Right.
Right, I'm just looking for a walk now. Off he goes to walk to Shelley's again.
Right.
Jesus, get a
Could
taxi,
you not
man.
take a bus?
Right.
Well, we don't know. He may have taken the bus to the vinyl store and then walked down a dodgy part of town by the
Canal.
canal
Because
where
sure.
there's nobody there.
Yeah,
There's
it's-
nobody walking their dogs in
just-
that part of the canal.
Just the ITV studio is just off camera just a little bit.
Because there's graffiti.
Right.
And if there's graffiti, that means it's a bad part of town.
Yeah, so you'd expect there to be some junkies hanging about
Right, yeah. I was kind of worried that he was going to get jumped
Oh.
while he was on the
there.
floor.
Or running into Cassie or something. Yeah. I was a little upset that Todd and George still aren't talking to each other. And then I'm like, really, in this storyline, is that the thing that's pulling on my heartstrings here?
Right.
But the whole thing is still
Yeah.
still pretty sad. And I do think out of all the storylines, I am invested in this because Paul is a character that I like, and so this is how you get people interested in these storylines, right?
Right. By killing off a beloved character.
And Billy wasn't quite as annoying.
No, that I was going to say, Billy is not as annoying because, yes, he is opening Paul's mail, and yes, that is annoying.
Mm-hmm.
But then when Paul tells him about what Bernie and Cassie are doing, or not Cassie,
Shelley,
Shelley. Thank you.
the dead one, dead Shelley.
Yes, dead Shelley. He doesn't get all judgy. He's just like, well, whatever you choose to do is fine.
Yeah, he's like, I wouldn't do it.
Right.
This wouldn't be something that I'd be involved in, but
Right.
this is up to you.
Right.
Which isn't wasn't what I expected from him.
No.
Little bit.
You expect him to be holier than thou.
Oh, yeah. Threatening to go to the police.
Right.
The whole 9 yards, right?
Yeah. It's nice that he's not like that this week.
Yeah, we just need to get a little bit of move on here.
And he's also not, he's also kind of apologetic about the wheelchair, that it was delivered.
He's going to need one of those ones the motorised ones.
Yeah.
Because he's right, and it never struck me until he sat in it and then said, I'm just going to go around in circles here because this hand doesn't work.
Right.
And I just suddenly felt all the more sorry for him with that situation. Even the wheelchair isn't the answer, isn't the solution to this.
Right. And then
Because a wheelchair on its own doesn't help.
And then they bring the wheelchair up to the flat, and I'm like, why are you not leaving it at the bottom of the stairs for him to be able to use to get outside and stuff and have independence? How's that wheelchair going to get back downstairs?
Because somebody's going to steal it. They're going to wheel it to the precinct and they're going to hit Eliza with it. And then that's going to start a whole other mystery of who stole the wheelchair. It was Dom. Dom again.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that was the week that was Coronation Street. Tell me, Helen, what was your moment of the week?
Evelyn moving in with Roy. Or it's either Evelyn and Roy or it's Paul and Todd. I kind of feel like maybe it should be Paul and Todd.
Oh, see, for me, it was the gang all in the Rovers in the booth just having a laugh. Paul being so unsure and self-conscious about going into the Rovers in the wheelchair, and everyone kind of taking a little breath when they see him. Apart from Daisy, Daisy just walked up and asked him what he wanted.
Yeah.
Oh, how her character has changed.
Yeah.
But when they were all in the booth and they're just having a laugh and stuff, it was just a nice little warm little moment for me. That would be my moment of the week, I think. But hey, this is your section, so.
How is it?
Because I've decided.
I don't know. Those are three very good options, which is nice. At least I have to give the show credit that this week we have three very valid answers as opposed to last week when we couldn't think of even one thing that we liked.
Right.
So it is an improvement over last week. Because I did like the banter about no looking, and he says, I wouldn't dream of it.
How do we look
Much.
Anyway?
Yeah. Yeah. All right, let's give it, because I do like seeing lots of people in the Rovers, and there were a lot of people in the Rovers.
It was the busiest it's been for a while.
Yeah.
Since the little party that they had, certainly.
Right. Yeah, let's give it to that.
Okay.
Everybody being nice to Paul for once.
Paul just having some banter and patter with his pals.
Right, and his mum kissing his forehead.
That's
and
it.
him forgiving her.
Moment of the week.
Another week.
Boring moment of the week. It's Kirk's fucking dolphins, isn't it?
Is that boring or just sad?
Dumb.
That's the dumb moment of the week. Is it that, or is it the boobs lady complaining about her credit cards? That was kind of boring because it was like, I don't want to hear you moan about this. You're a child groomer.
Or is it anything that Stu says?
Is it anything that Eliza says?
Because anytime I see Stu and anytime I see Eliza and anytime I see Courtney boobs, I'm just bored already.
Or is it Daniel and Daisy trying to figure out a time that they can hang out together?
Yes, fuck's sake, yes. Do you want to go
Because
out?
that was pointless.
Do you want to go out? No, I'm busy. Well, yeah, I'm busy
Right,
too.
yeah. Do you want to go out? No, you forget. I've picked up a shift this evening. Oh, well, I have lots of papers to grade. There was no point to that conversation.
And that's why that's...
Boring moment of the week.
Holy crap. Just...
When in doubt,
Daniel
there's
never
Daniel.
disappoints. There we
No.
go. All right. Score out of 10. You gave it a 2 last week, I think.
Yeah. 5.5.
I thought it was still pretty poor on Monday. Man, I was very bored with it on Monday, but it picked up a little bit towards the end. I'm going to give it a 5.
Yeah.
Kind of middle of the road. Still room for improvement, though.
Right. But at least this has some moment of the week materials
Yeah.
with characters that we care about.
This episode was brought to you with thanks to our friends of the podcast, Daisy, French Helen, Pickles, and DT. If you've ever peed in a canal and needed some help to do so, write in and let us know about it. We're the talk of the street at gmail.com, and we're at Corrie Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky now.
Woohoo! We've hit the big time. We're part of the cool kids.
And if you're on Blue Sky, please follow us. I'm desperately trying to find people to follow, and it's so difficult. We're at corriepodcast.bsky.social, I think it is.
Yes.
You can shout me and Helen a coffee or become a friend of the podcast by heading to ko-fi.com. That's ko-fi.com/the talk of the street. Check out the clicky section of boggle.co.uk for links to our YouTube channel and merch store. And if you're so inclined, please leave a rating and a review on the iTunes or your podcast provider of choice. And be sure to check out our pop culture sister podcast, The List of Lists. Thanks for making it to the end of another episode, and we will be back next week with more
I'll talk of the street.
Talk of the Street.
Bye.
Cheerio.